You pull the camera to your eye, and before you can even check your exposure, there is a hand going through your frame, and someone says, "No photo, wala." And the guy is aggressively looking at you, and suddenly you feel like a criminal just for holding the camera. If you have been to Morocco with a camera, you know that exact feeling. Morocco looks like a dream on Instagram. Beautiful light, beautiful colors, beautiful dust through the air, and it looks like a street photographer paradise. And it is. But there is one little but. Every time Morocco gets mentioned among street photographers, the first question is always the same. How did you actually manage to shoot there? Almost everyone has some kind of a story about being cursed, chased down, or verbally abused on the streets of Marrakech. It reached to the point where many photographers completely avoid the country because of the horror stories they hear from there. And I'm not exaggerating. Many photographers completely avoid going to Morocco because of the negative experience they had or from what they heard from their peers. But all it takes to photograph there is a fundamental change of approach. If you learn how to slow down, anchor yourself, and actually engage with the space before you leave the camera, you might have some success there. And if you skip Morocco because of other people's stories, you're missing out on one of the most beautiful countries in North Africa. Today I will show you how I shoot in Morocco, wide open, without hiding and without paying people off, just doing photography. The first thing that we need to do is understand why people react this way. If you don't understand the roots of the anger and the problem, you can change your behavior to adapt to it. Let's look at three main layers. The first one is history, the second, religion, and the third one is modern tourism impact. The truth is, people across Africa in general are less excited about having their photographs taken by outsiders. And it comes down to history. When cameras arrived here in the late 19th century, they arrived largely in the hands of European colonial powers. For the locals, it created the association that the camera was the tool of the colonizer. It was used by missionaries or military officers to document, categorize, and map the land of the people without their consent. Early photography often portrayed African people in exotic or, let's say, undignified ways to satisfy the European curiosity. This created a lasting historical association that the camera has been seen as a tool lacking of respect to the culture. Apart from that, there is religion. First, there's the traditional Islamic view on images. In traditional teachings of Islam, there is a rule against creating images or living things, and that is to prevent the worship of statues or painting instead of God. Most modern Islamic scholars would say that photography is fine because a camera doesn't actually create an image from scratch. It just captures a reflection of reality, like a mirror. And since a mirror isn't a sin, a photo is not either. More conservative people will still look at the lens with deep suspicion. They feel that freezing a human likeness comes too close to imitating God's creation, which is seen as disrespectful because only God creates life. Then there is the concept of Hshouma, which translates to shame, modesty, or privacy. In Morocco, family honor and privacy are everything, especially for women and the elderly. Even the architecture reflects this. Houses in the old Moroccan Medina are built in such a way that there are no windows facing the outside street. They only open inwards towards the private courtyard. The home is the only safe place for a woman where she can show her face freely, and a stranger taking a photo of that face and carrying it away breaks that circle of privacy. Morocco also follows a specific tradition of Islam called Maliki school. Historically, the school has been very strict about preserving public decency, modesty, and personal dignity. Even if a Maliki schooler agrees to the concept that camera is just a mirror, they will still argue that how the camera is used matters a lot. Under this view, taking a photo of someone without their explicit permission is a directly violation of their rights and dignity. On top of religion, there is a big admiration for black magic in Morocco, which is deep-seated superstitions. The biggest one is the evil eye. The belief is that a look of envy and even excessive admiration of someone can bring physical harm or bad luck to a person. And because photograph freezes a person's image forever, it makes them permanent, vulnerable target for that negative energy. In more traditional or rural areas, there is still a belief that capturing a personal likeness captures a piece of their soul, of essence. Basically, you can send dark energy to this image. When a local vendor or elder waves with his hand and asks you to take down your camera, they're not quoting these complex religious laws. They're just acting in a deeply integrated cultural program that says, my face belongs to me. And all of this gets exponentially worse when you pour the masses of tourists into the mix who have been flooding Morocco in the recent decades. Morocco is one of the closest exotic countries where Europeans can get a taste of completely different culture, and naturally people are excited to take photos of everything they see. But imagine being a spice market merchant or leatherworking in the souks. When hundreds of cameras pass you daily, you kind of stop seeing photography as a touristic curiosity. It just annoys you. You see it as an intrusion into your daily life. And the result is a strong aversion towards anyone with a camera. And we are also contributing to that. This is probably the worst part, the lack of respect from photographers, the ones who have paid for a photo tour and feel that this gives them permission to stick their big lenses into locals' faces without the minimal respect that a human being deserves. They approach their subject, get uncomfortably close, take the photo and walk away without a tiny nod or, just gratitude of appreciation. That person might have been in a good mood at the beginning and agreed to this once, but imagine if it happens daily over and over and over again over the span of 10 years. You would develop kind of aversion for photographers as well. No, I'm not saying that all tourists are disrespectful, but the patterns are there. I'm sure some of you have seen this kind of behavior. Here where it gets even more confusing. Some people know that they're exotic or photogenic enough for people cameras. They decide to make a buck out of it and start asking for money for each shot. The perfect example are the guys with the snakes and the monkeys on Jamal Fitness Square. You can't even point a camera towards them for a second without immediately being asking for money, often in a very aggressive manner. All this is creating a really confusing contradiction. From one side, photography is cultural taboo, but when you pay for it, suddenly it becomes fine. Let me share with you a short story from one of my recent workshops to Marrakech. There is a man who sits near Ben Youssef Madrasa with a few tiny kittens on his lap. The most adorable thing you can imagine. Naturally, you want to take a photo of him. But at the moment you try, he hides his face. Unless you pay him. While this was happening, me and one of my workshop participants got thoroughly schooled by a young local lady. She was very emotional and kept repeating that we shouldn't take photographs of people in Morocco without their permission, that this is not a zoo, and we should have respect. Something I agree with, but the irony was that she completely missed the point that the same guy was more than happy to be photographed if he got paid. Here's a photo of him posing happily for someone who actually paid him. So it gets confusing. Is it a religious sin, a violation of privacy, or just business transaction? You will probably find all of these in a certain way. Now, I know I've painted a very negative, confusing picture of photography in Morocco, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to take photographs there. Once you understand where the behavior comes from, you can learn how to act accordingly to the situation. Before we get into the solution, I need to give you a very serious warning. While the locals might get angry or ask you for money, there is one group where the rules are not about culture, they're about the law. In Morocco, you must never photograph the police, the military, or the royal guards, or any government infrastructure like bridges or border crossing. This is not a suggestion. If you point your camera at a police checkpoint or a soldier, you're not just going to get yelled at. There is a good chance that you're going to be detained. They will stop you, they will go through your memory card, and they will force you to delete the images. And in a worst case scenario, if you misbehave, some things can happen to your gear or to you. You might be detained for some time. So be very careful with anything like that. Now let's break down how exactly you can adapt your gear, your mindset, and your shooting style to come back with images, respectable images. Well, the first thing is gear. Large cameras, massive zoom lenses simply don't cut it here. Moroccan people have an extremely high awareness of cameras. If you're walking and carrying a large camera body with a 70-200mm lens, you can still take photographs that way, but you will consistently feel that you are stealing shots and you're about to get cut and often get into arguments. That mental state kills your creativity, so consider smaller kids. They're going to make your life much easier. On my last trip to Morocco, I used both my Nikon ZF with 28mm lens and my Ricoh GR, which is also with 28mm lens. Surprisingly, or maybe not, only a third of my photos were actually taken with the ZF. For most scenarios, the Ricoh GR was more than enough. It's pocketable, it's invisible, and it doesn't scream professional photographer. People felt easy when I was shooting with it. The second shift that you need to do is your composition. You need to stop focusing on the subject-only type of photography, meaning tight headshots and close-up portraits, where the person feels the majority of the frame. That kind of photography is exactly what makes people react negatively to you and creates the most clashes on the street. Instead of that, move towards subject plus environment approach. This is basically scene-based photography, where your subject is a participant in the happening, but they are not the single main point of interest. Morocco is so beautiful that you can easily shift the focus to an aesthetic scene and then integrate your subject into that scene. It takes the target of the local person's back and creates a story that is not only about the face, but also about the place. And I'm not speaking about switching to environmental portraits, I mean shifting towards the street. Show what is there and who moves around and lives there. Which brings us to shifting your entire physical approach from intrusive photography to unobtrusive photography. I have spoken deeply on this topic before in my video about getting closer and photographing strangers, but the core idea here is don't interrupt the natural flow of the street, be a fly on the wall. To execute this on the ground, we need to break it down into two parts, your body language and tactical execution. Have a quiet body language. Do not attract attention with how you move. Don't move too fast or look obnoxious. You need to learn to be relaxed. Remind yourself that you are doing nothing wrong. slow down, and control your FOMO. Chasing shots will always introduce a nervous, jittery body language that makes you highly noticeable. Stop rushing. I will often slow down completely. I find a corner that I like and just stop and focus on the people passing by. Embrace the fishing approach. Instead of hunting, find yourself a nice pond, a spot with a beautiful background, good foot traffic, and interesting activities, and photograph there. It's kind of a mix of fishing and hunting. It's just that you are hunting in a smaller, well-known area. And if you're staying in that area long enough, you will become part of the scenery. Stay in one place for just some time or observe even just 30 minutes will make you part of the environment. Locals will stop noticing you, and from your side, it gives you the time to see who is keeping an eye on you, on your movement, and who is relaxed and ignoring your presence. With time, you will learn to read the room, or in this case, read the street, and know who is easier to approach and who is going to make a problem out of it. Another story from the recent trip. There was this barbershop in one of the streets in the old city. I saw the place and I knew I wanted to take a photo of it. I spent 5-ish minutes hanging around, but with the corner of my eye, I would keep an eye on the owner looking for an opportunity to take the shot. It was like an awareness game. Who is going to stop paying attention first? I knew 100% that if I take a photo there will be a reaction. There was almost tension in the air. Since I needed to keep moving after the group, I didn't stick longer, and I told myself, well, enough with the games, let's just take the shot and that's it. At the second I pressed the shutter, he came out of the shop and chased me away. I smiled, I said I'm sorry, and the shop is beautiful, but that didn't really help. You see, my inner voice knew that this is about to happen, but I went against it. I usually do listen and avoid such situations. Okay, with that story, let's move more towards technical execution. There are no rules, just some guidelines that will help you photographing in such places. First one is just don't get too close. Make the person part of a scene. This works best with a wider lens. If you are using a wide prime, the person might likely won't even be aware that you are that he's in your frame. You stand back, you photograph the whole scene, no one can come to you and say, hey, why are you photographing me? You're there capturing the environment. The fact that they are jumping into your scene is not your fault. In this photo, these two gentlemen were sure that I was trying to take photograph of the pomegranates. I used 28mm and I was very close, but in fact I was taking photo of them, the pomegranates, and the girl that is passing by. Shoot from a low angle. When people see you shooting from a very low angle, they don't process it as they're in the intention of the photograph. They assume that you're one of these weird tourists and that you're focusing on the floor, the shadows, or the architecture. They don't think that you're trying to include them in the frame. Photograph people who are engaged in activity. Working and busy people have their minds occupied with their activity. They couldn't care less about the photographers because they have a job to do. But keep it quiet, shoot without interrupting them, and, without creating any movement that will draw the attention towards you. And the last one, genuinely connect. This is a photography rule that works anywhere in the world, but if you want a close-up portrait or a person, stop trying to steal it. Have a human connection first. Put the camera down, say hello, engage with them, and only then, if you see that they're feeling comfortable, start taking photos. This is probably the only decent respectful way to get a true face-to-face portrait in Morocco. It will not be a candid street portrait, but it will be better than the ones taken with unflattered angles and full of fear. Now, if you want inspiration on how this look when executed at the highest level, take a look at these masters who cracked that code of photographing in Morocco decades ago. Look at the work of magnum photographers Bruno Barbey and Harry Gruyaert. Barbey's book Morocco, The Color of Memory is a masterclass in how to integrate people into the local architecture without being intrusive. And Harry Gruyaert's books is, I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly, with the simple title Morocco shows you exactly how to use color, intense shadows and light to tell the story when their environment is the main character. Their books are the ultimate proof that you don't need aggressive headshots to capture the soul of this country. And that brings me to the specific aesthetics of shooting here. Morocco has beautiful light. I can't even describe you how beautiful the golden light is. It is strong and with high contrast, meaning the game of light and shadow can be taken to a whole another level here. If you don't know exactly what I mean by that, check another video of mine about photography in hard light. I will list it in the suggested videos in the description below. The other strong visual element here is color. The pink walls of Marrakech, the blue houses of Chefchaouen, the white city of Tétouan, they all carry very strong visual signature with powerful sense of place. Don't ignore these elements. You might have also noticed through this video that a lot of my photographs are in black and white. Morocco photographs beautifully in monochrome, so definitely experiment with that while you're there. But mostly, come to Morocco, don't be afraid, it's a beautiful country, and if you follow some of the advices in this video, you have a great chance to come back with some incredible images. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions or want to share your own experience photographing in Morocco, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, happy shooting and see